Okay, guys, welcome to episode 2 of Texas Filmmakers. I'm here with my dear friend Ben Loggins, and Ben is been in the film business now for about 40 years, and he's a stuntman, he's a director, he's a first AD, he's a producer, you name it, this guy's done it. So welcome to the show, Ben.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. A little nervous, but I'm glad to be here.
Well, you know, everybody's nervous. You know, that's kind of funny you say you're nervous because you work in front of the camera all the time, but you know, you're working behind the camera a lot as well. So, you know, I'm surprised to hear that from you.
Well, it's usually I'm being told what to say, so this is a little more ad-lib for me.
Well, let's start off, Ben. You know, as I'd mentioned earlier, you've been in the business now for almost 40 years. You know, that's a long time to be in any kind of business, and you know, I can only imagine the experience that you've gained over all these years. Tell me how you got into this business.
I actually, it was in the late 70s. It's a long time ago. I had a mortgage and management company in real estate, and after about 2 or 3 years of that, I realized that desk and I just didn't get along.
Right.
You know, so I sold that, and my 10-year high school reunion, I went to it and I ran into a close buddy of mine that's been a friend since elementary school, Randy Fife. And we were talking and he asked me what I was doing, and I said, you know, I'm kind of doing my own thing, just putzing around. And they were shooting a movie here in Dallas called Captured. I can't remember who was on it, but
Okay.
they had a scene that we were going to do. A guy falls supposedly off of the cliff, White Rock Cliff, about 60 feet, yeah, about 60 feet into an airbag. But the first night they were going to do, he falls out of a tree to simulate the ending of the high fall. And he asked me if I scuba dived. I said, yeah, I'm certified, and asked me if I'd come out. And I said, cool.
Another thing I didn't know.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I'm a rescue diver. And so I went out there and I went into the creek and kind of cleared, make sure that the guy didn't fall on anything, you know, pipes and stuff like that.
Right.
All at night, and we shot it, and I loved it, and I thought it was really cool. And when we wrapped, he asked me if I could come back out the next night and help with the airbag, and the airbag's a pretty large safety bag that, you know, weighs a lot, and we had to load it down into the creek, get it set up, and we did that, and the guy did the high fall. It all worked out well, and you know, I helped him wrap it back up, and so I was ready to go, and he said, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to Taft-Hartley you and get your SAG card. I had no clue what that meant. And I said, well, I guess that's cool. And he goes, well, we can't pay you unless you have a SAG card, and
Right.
and we're going to pay you, which was another surprise to me. I was just doing it out of, you know, being fun.
Exactly.
And I got my SAG card, and back then I think the rate was like $375 a day, which in '78 was a lot of money.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine.
basically after that, I was hooked. And 38 years later, I would not trade a moment of my life in this business.
Exactly. So, you know, ever since then, it's just been, has it been a flash, or has it been more, everything you work on has been a new experience, obviously. I mean,
That's the thing I like about the film business, and the thing I disliked about the desk is that every day I had an office downtown, I would go to my desk, and every day would be the same thing, over and over and over. Every day you go onto the set, it's absolutely not the same thing every day.
Right.
Whether it's the same movie, same series, there's always challenges, there's always something different, and that's what really drives me with the business, is it keeps you interested, keeps you motivated and excited.
You know, when I look at your filmography, you've been in, I mean, you got 43 credits as stunts, 10 or 15 as a stunt coordinator. You've done first AD. You produced and you directed. What do you enjoy the most in the film industry? You know, out of all those different roles you played in the film industry.
Well, when we first started, Randy brought myself in and another very close friend of mine, Russell Towery, into the business. And back then, you had to do it all. So we were masters of every part of the stunt business, whether it be driving, high falls, fire gags, fight scenes. Today, you have specialists. You have motorcycle specialists. You have high fall specialists, parkour guys. But in learning the business, it's a lot of on-the-job training. which is very exciting. As I developed, I actually also helped with special effects and pyrotechnics in my earlier days with Randy. And so, and Jack Bennett, who's an old special effects guy in Dallas. So today, I really do enjoy being behind the camera.
Yep.
I enjoy, firsting and co-directing, and because it's a never-ending job.
Yeah.
When you get to the set, you go, and when you end to the set, you're not through. You have to go reschedule your next scenes and your shot list. So that part of it I love, and it's what really motivates me. I cannot ever imagine retiring, ever.
Yeah. I mean, has it been more like has it been a natural progression going through?
It is. I mean, when you start out doing stunts, and I love doing stunts, and I still do them. People ask me at my age why, and I said because I love doing stunts. Now, I'm not going to go do a car hit because the bones don't heal as quickly. But I love the stunt business. But as a stuntman, hopefully you have the tools to become a coordinator, and then the natural step from a coordinator, second unit director.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that standpoint, I was very fortunate to get tied up with young filmmakers like yourself.
Yep.
And another very close friend of mine, Guillermo Ivan.
Guillermo.
And so they brought me in as kind of, they call me Papa Bear on the set because I've got a lot of experience.
Right.
But it opened the avenues for me to go into that side of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, people think that the film business is glamorous. It is hard work. It's long,
it really is.
Long hours. But if most people in this business love it, or they'll leave it. It's that simple.
Yep.
And so that's the natural progression for me. I've been fortunate.
Now, you told me a funny story one time about this movie you worked on down in South Texas called Evening Star.
Yeah.
With Jack Nicholson and Shirley MacLaine.
Yeah.
Tell us about that story again.
Yeah, I was actually on the set assisting Russell Tower. He was the coordinator. And I was doing the part of the scene where they called Jack in. He did the original Terms of Endearment, where the vet scene on the beach. It's a pretty well-known scene in the business. So we were setting up a scene with Shirley MacLaine she's sitting on the back of a convertible, mm-hmm. and Jack's driving, and they have an urn, and they're basically blowing the ashes of Marion Ross, who's from Happy Days, because she had passed away. It's a very big scene. And so they brought Jack in the middle of the movie. He came in and went to a basketball game, worked a day or two, and then went to a basketball game and then left.
Right.
So when we're setting the scene up, we have Shirley literally tied in with a harness to the back of the convertible, mm-hmm. so she can't fall off of it. Wired in on the harness. And so we're sitting there, and I'm going to say there's 7 cameras on the camera car. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting there, and Mr. Nicholson looked up at me and he said, "Would you mind just having the guys on the camera car raise their hand so I can know which camera to play to?" And so I kind of looked at him. I said, "Sure." So I asked the question, and of the 7 cameramen, 5 raised their hand, so I could see Miss MacLaine was kind of twitching a little bit. Yep. But we did the scene. They took off. They drove down the beach. They disappeared. The director comes on. He says, "Cut. We've got it. We don't need another one. Right. We're good." I'm up there, and we're all waiting for them to bring the car back to, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. the number 1 position. And I look up, and all of a sudden the car turns and starts going toward the base camp. And so I grabbed some form of transportation and took off. And when I got there, Jack was kind of putzing with Shirley a little bit.
Yeah.
And so he was climbing up into his honey wagon.
Yep.
And as I ran, she couldn't move. She was locked in. No one was on the set except security because it was such a big scene, mm-hmm. And I got there, and she was kind of twitching, and I pulled out my Leatherman, and I cut all the rigging for the special effects and took her off the deal and kind of escorted her up to her honey wagon. Right. And the whole time, Jack's looking out of the little window, kind of smirking. Uh-huh. And so when the special effects guy got there, he goes, "You cut all my gear." And I said, "Would you rather I just left her here and let you take it loose?" And he goes, "No, you did a good job." So it's kind of a funny story. But then they spent a day just reminiscing, and it was just kind of one of those little tit for tat things.
Yeah, was it more? I thought when you first told it to me, I thought it was like a little power struggle. On
Well,
set.
I mean, there was a little bit of a power struggle.
Right.
I mean, she was the lead, but without Jack Nicholson, you don't have a sequel. So, but I think that was just him being himself.
Yeah,
really.
Another story I want you to kind of reminisce with me on is last year, as you know, we lost Robin Williams, and I know you worked on a film called Merry Freaking Christmas several years back.
That was the first part of 2013 or the latter part. I can't remember.
Right, and I don't think has it been released yet.
It's out on video. I think Netflix is streaming it or airing it. Another film that I work with Russell, and I'm very fortunate that I get to work with him and assist him. He's really, really big in the stunt business, and he knows that he can trust what I'm doing, and so we have a great relationship. Very, very close friends. When I work in Atlanta, I stay with him, and I was doubling Oliver Platt in the movie, and he's basically a dirty Santa Claus. He's a bum.
Yeah.
And he rides a 1950 snowmobile that's been rigged for the street with a carrying deal for 3 passengers in the back. And so I had Robin behind me, and then we had the guy from Soup, I can't remember his name, but really good actor, and another guy in the back. And we were in Atlanta, and we were driving this up and down the hills of one of the state parks there. And so when I got on the bike, Mr. Williams asked me, he says, "You're not going to, wreck this, are you?" And I said, "No." He said, "If I do, you'll fall on top of me." So, he was just a sweetheart of a man and such a pleasure to work with. And it really was a shock for me to
it was a shock for,
what happened.
So many people.
I think it's one of those things that I heard someone say, he could please and make the world happy, but he just couldn't figure out how to make himself happy.
Yeah.
It was a shock, and it's really a loss for our industry.
More about your filmography. It's so, when I look at it, every time I look at it, I'm just like wowed by it. It's
hopefully in 36 years you do something. So.
Well, I got a ways to go to get there, but me personally, I'm looking at maybe 10 films total, and I'll be lucky to get that. But I'm working toward it.
You'll make it.
Tender Mercies, Boys Don't Cry. Both of those were Academy Award winners.
Yeah, and they were both, by the way, independent filmmakers.
Exactly.
And which is really what I love. I love independent films. Sure, I like working on the big budget films, but independent films there's where you get your young talent like yourself, and you get people that, they have to wear several different hats because the budgets are small. For me, I think it's a lot harder to do an independent film than if you have the money to have, a full staff of people. But, both of those were independent films, and when they started, no one knew what they were going to do, and bam, then all of a sudden they both win Best Actor and Best Actress.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. It gives you hope that, indies can really change the world. I think you were involved with a guy that is pretty hot right now, 21 years, I think.
Yeah, Richard Linklater.
Yeah. So it speaks well for indie films.
Yeah,
they just need more avenues to get financing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the biggest.
That's the hardest thing in this business is getting financing.
That's the hardest problem.
But it is what it is, and we live with it. You also told me about the time you were working on the movie Selena with Jennifer Lopez. What'd you do on that film?
Again, I was assisting Russell as assistant coordinator, and I was there during the period where they were supposed to be shooting the scene where Selena is in Monterrey, Mexico, I believe. And we shot it in a little town outside of San Antonio, and they were trying to get extras, and I think there was 175,000 people, maybe more or less, but there were a lot of people. No, in the actual Selena Monterey deal.
Oh, okay, I got you.
They advertised, and so they had 3,000 to 5,000 extras show up.
Wow.
I mean, and when they were...
Because they were just Selena lovers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, totally.
It's kind of like an homage they were paying to her.
Exactly. And when Jennifer Lopez was doing the singing, obviously they were playing, playback of Selena. And so all the people, they were just,
Go crazy.
It was phenomenal to see the reactions they were having to the song.
Were you there when they had the stage collapse?
That was when I was there.
Okay, I remember that.
There was supposedly a big rush and the stage collapses, and she goes out and sings that beautiful song. And so what was funny was I was kind of off the set, and I could hear Jennifer singing, and she had a beautiful voice.
Right.
I mean, and so when we thought she was just an actress, then obviously she can sing. But when she sang that song, you could just see the audience. They were just mesmerized.
That's awesome.
It was a fun film to work on.
Cool. All right, so Ben, the last thing, I got 2 more things I want to talk to you about. And we're going to try to get through these really fast. So you've been working on, this last movie you've been working on was Dirty Grandpa with Robert De Niro and Zac Efron. But prior to that, you worked on 2 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, again, helping Russell out. That series was an honor to work on. We actually had 2 SAG nominations for Stunt Ensemble. Those guys work a lot. It's a job. I mean, it's, Russell was trying to go to the meetings and trying to do killing zombies every day, and I was very fortunate to be able to help him and assist in the coordinating and go to the meetings when he couldn't be there. And, he and I do a lot of this teamwork thing. Right. That we've developed over the past 30-something years.
Well, that's cool. You got somebody you can bounce ideas off of and work close with.
But it was an honor to work on it. It really was.
Cool. That's awesome. So you kicked off this year working on a movie with Robert De Niro and Zac Efron called Dirty Grandpa over in Atlanta. What was that all about, and how'd that go?
Well, it's a comedy and has those 2 stars with a lot of other people. My buddy Russell asked me to do a reading to play a part. They had cast a role for a hippie bus driver. Yep. I fit that part pretty well.
Yep, I've seen that picture.
Yeah, and so they were going to have to get me double the guy, and then Russell kind of said, well, why don't we just cast Ben, and then you get the driver and the actor, and so I got the role, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of camera work between, there was an ice cream truck and a huge bus I'm driving, hippie bus. A lot of camera work on cranes and driving, holding positions with the camera between. Got to say a lot of lines, got to yell a lot of stuff. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I do get a lot of times I get the dialogue. When I worked on Walker, most any time there was a stunt guy that got dialogue, Eric Norris, who was the coordinator, Chuck's son, would always throw the dialogue to me. A lot of stunt guys would rather jump off a building than say a line. Yeah. Trust me.
Well, guys, I got to wrap this up. Ben, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. You're a good friend. You're an awesome filmmaker. And I can speak for all of the young filmmakers that work with you. You're just an awesome asset to have on the set working with us.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Thank you, man.
Enjoyed it.
Take care.